What is up, everyone? I'm here with Mr. MC1 in the house today. One of the biggest whales that we got on the app. He just hit a major milestone, 200 plus sets. He's a hero of our community. I'm a big fan. I've wanted to do this for a long time. So thank you so much for coming on, man.
Hey, Chad, great to be here. Thank you very much for having me on the channel. I just, have enjoyed watching your channel. So congratulations on your channel.
Thanks, man.
And yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. I mean, there's not a lot of the people with bigger collections that also, kind of have a voice in the community. So it's nice when I do have the opportunity to pick somebody like yourself, the brain, because I just know there's so much that we can unravel. So it's good to have you here, man.
Oh, man, not a whale, just a dolphin with a big splash.
Well, if you're a dolphin with a big splash, I'm a minnow. How about that? Yeah.
I've optimized for MCP, so it's going to be definitely dolphin with a big splash.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So just like your name suggests, I think you really like Marvel Comics #1, right?
Yes, I do. So that's what brought me into the app, and I've been
Wow.
collecting that since August of 21. Yeah.
Damn. So were you one of the smart ones that actually, bought a ton of commons when they were like $2, $3 a pop, or did it take you a while to kind of clue in and be like, oh, maybe I should start stacking?
No, I came 6 or 7 days after MC1 had come out, so I was not in the $2 bucket, but I have bought a bunch in the 6 to 20, and then 30 and 40, and I kept buying it all the way up to 150. So
Wow.
yeah, I think I'm up to like 500, over 550 Marvel comic ones now.
Damn.
300 some are the commons, but I have a whole bunch of others. I have at least about 25 plus ultra rares,
Wow.
about 50, 60 rares, and then two secret rares. So
That's
yeah,
unbelievable.
I've been stacking them. I've been stacking them, man.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, if you think about it too, right? It is probably the most important blockchain or the comic on the blockchain, given that it's Marvel's first, at least from VeVe standards. So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people keep forgetting is like when they keep scaling out and scaling out and scaling out, despite having all these other great Marvel comics coming on the blockchain, they're still not going to be comparable potentially to the MC1, right? Because that's like we talked about, it's just such a major milestone. It represents comics
Yeah.
from Marvel coming into blockchain history. So it's wise of you, man. What's the secret rare at now?
I think about 8, 9K, something like that. But yeah, that doesn't even
Yeah.
matter, man. I don't even look at the price. To me, I'm the
Yeah.
longest holder, so I'm holding it for like, I don't even know how long, but long,
Yeah.
long. But
Wow.
I think I'll tell you something. I mean, with the reason that Marvel Comics one is significant, and I'm not selling anything, so it's not a pump or anything.
Yes.
And even if it is, it's not a dump anyway. So, so the reason that at least I went into Marvel Comics heavy is Marvel Comics 1 specifically, because it's the first comic from Marvel. Very
Mm,
historic, deeply steeped in history, significance. First comic from Marvel. The whole company is named after it. A lot of the characters from the comic. There's multiple stories in that comic, and
right.
those stories and the characters in those stories have inspired so many different characters, and some of them are still, significant. I mean, talk about Namor and stuff, right? It's from the Submariner. So anyway, so that's that as far as the comic itself. And then if you think about the digital comic, it's Marvel's first digital comic too. And
Mm,
until the day second appearance becomes a real thing, I think we'll go with with the first. And that's what
yes.
VeVe's about. So leave Marvel Comics for a minute. I think I'm all about the firsts, and those firsts matter. Collectibles, comics, stamps, appearances, and VeVe's the place you can load up.
Right. That's so wise, and I think that's the big thing that you and I both agree on, is to me, what it represents is permanence on the blockchain, like,
Yeah,
and in its own right, it's scarce because there's technically only ever gonna be one FA, so after,
yeah,
20 years, and there's
yeah,
hundreds of Batmans, hundreds of
yeah,
comics, they're gonna be like,
yeah.
"Well, which one was the first?" Right?
And there's no, single answer or strategy on VeVe that's right. If you think about it,
Right.
and not financial advice of any kind, but if you came after a year and a half of the app being, live, and you got Miles Morales, secret rare. Well, you're holding on to something that's very, very special, right?
Right.
And in my humble opinion, it's a very, very cool collectible. If you have the Spider-Man, if you're older school and you have the Spider-Man secret rare, which turns out is my favorite, it's cool. It's
Yeah.
definitely very, very. The collectible is really nice. It's got the animation is really nice, and so there's a lot to it. And these things will show very well in the metaverse, which is
Mm.
where I believe we're headed. It'll show very well in a social metaverse, which is where we're headed. And if you're a collector, this is the place to be. If you're a flipper, I don't know. I'm not one. I know people made a lot of money on it,
Yeah.
and I hope they still do. And it's a place for flippers too. And yeah,
Yeah, I guess it takes all kinds, right, to really be able to make this ecosystem up. But I love that. I love that you're in it for the long run. And I see your
yeah.
collection. I see that you've got the crazy amount of sets completed. So congratulations on that. And how does it feel to be like a holder of that many sets? There's a lot of talk in the community that people are kind of upset because they want to have more utility or points for the MCP. But I guess as such a big holder, how do you feel about like the current sentiment? Do you think it's bear market related, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think three thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Three thoughts. First of all, me personally, I love collecting, and
Mm.
um, I could have sold any one of those things, and I haven't sold hardly anything. Maybe
Right.
just where I had duplicates and I had got a high mint on a drop that I then wanted to, sell or whatever. But for me personally, I'm a collector. I love collecting. I have the first entire season except for one set, which is harder to
Wow.
complete. The Donnie, that set. I don't have that set at all, and I'm not even bothered collecting the other pieces of
Yeah.
the set. So like, okay, you know what? Someday, sometime. And then I have almost the entire second season minus one set, which I can finish up anytime. I just,
Wow.
maybe just waiting for the right mint or whatever. And we don't count the bond ticket, right? The 7 tickets bond ticket. That doesn't count.
That doesn't
So
count. Yeah, yeah,
you know,
exactly. That's off the
I really
list.
think I don't think it counts because I think you've heard David and Dan say that as well.
I agree.
But anyway, so I have almost the entire second
Wow.
season as well. And then third, fourth season onwards, I have most of it, but not everything. At that point, I said, look, I'm really going to collect what I love. The
Yeah.
first, second season meant a lot to me in terms of just the completeness of having the whole season. Um, and yeah, so it feels good. So that's sort of the first point. The second one is, look, when you talk about other people and the sets and the there's some truth to this whole bear market thing, but there's
Mm.
also a lot of truth to VeVe's delayed some things as well. VeVe is a small company that had rapid growth. They've got two ways to go. They can actually plow in a lot of people to get everything done super fast, or they can do it at a steady pace. And if you're David Yu and you go plow in a lot of money and a lot of people to build all these things, what are you going to do? Something bad happens, right? Anything can happen. Your
Mm.
company gets destroyed. The landscape is littered with companies that over deployed resources and got burnt out. That said, I think VeVe's still slow. I'd like to see VeVe move a lot faster, and I think there's some frustration in the community about that, and
Mhm.
nothing to do with the bear market, right?
Right.
People want to see more feature functionality come out, going after mints that you like. By
Yeah.
the way, the search functionality is a big win. I like Mitch. I think Mitch, just a side note there, I had a chance to chat with Mitch. He's an amazing guy. He's the right guy
Yeah.
for the job. He's, started off very well. He's got the search functionality done. It's only going to get better. And he's working on some other stuff, which will happen too. So,
Amazing.
um, good progress there. But anyway, look, I think we're talking to other people, so a lot of other folks are somewhat dismayed that things have been slow. When this, when
Mhm.
that, and then the whole putting a date out there, and then missing the date and saying 2 weeks more, but then the 2 weeks doesn't happen. We're kind of almost there. Those things don't sit well. So I think Mitch has a plan to address that. David and Dan have a plan to address that. Just not any, a lot of big companies have gone through those challenges. Not nice, but they'll get fixed. And the third thing is, we are in a bear market. You said what you want, right? Crypto's down. Like, a lot of people in NFTs are from the crypto world, and when you see your portfolio go from year to year, well, what are you going to do? Go buy more shit sell those things to go buy stuff? Not really. So it does affect people's mood and sentiment.
Hmm.
And then, even people that have money are now sort of saving up a little bit. They're like, oh, you know what? I don't know if how rainy a day it's going to be, right?
Hmm.
And so let's be careful. And VeVe's adjusted very well to it. In my humble opinion, they've arrived at the right price points and the right mint sizes. If you
Right.
look at a lot of I think at least the last 15, 20 drops, it's the right mint size, the right pricing, more or less. And they've sold out for the most part. The ones that are not sold out, probably good that they didn't sell out, because it gives people an
Hmm.
opportunity to kind of go in, and they'll sell out eventually anyway. And if they don't, they'll get burnt and they'll create demand. So but
Yeah.
yeah, bear market's there too, man. But
Wow.
otherwise, collecting sets is collect the sets that you like, and you'll have fun on VeVe.
Man, what a great synopsis. I love how you gave us all those 3 points like that too. And that's the thing that I keep saying as well to people is I'm like, we are in a bear market and these are super scarce edition runs of
Yeah,
really significant, characters. And so the thing I keep thinking about is like I think about Pokemon and in 2006 when we had really limited print runs and how some of those cards came to be very, very, prestigious and popular long term. So I think the same opportunities apply here. And I do agree. Like, remember at one point, they were saying that they were going to be dropping more frequently, like sometimes twice a day, 5 times a week. And they've kind of, like you said, scaled it back to ensure that, there's not too much saturation in the market. So I agree, man. I
yeah.
think they're doing a lot of good things, and are you excited about the VeVeVerse? Is that one thing you're looking forward to?
Oh, that's the thing I'm most excited about
Yeah.
after MCP in the short to medium term.
Yeah.
I've been on Spatial quite a bit and quite enjoy that experience of having an avatar uh, dressed in
Mm.
the manner in which you wanted to, and interacting both with humans and with toys in an immersive manner. The immersiveness of it is incredible, and to the extent that it's 2 dimensional in the beginning, just gets more people on it. It
Mm.
doesn't create that barrier for entry of having like a VR headset, and that's a good thing. And the VR experience. My Oculus Quest 2 broke, man. Like, I don't know how I broke it, but it's literally I was doing something, jammed something. It doesn't turn on now. But I've got the Nreal. I've got the Nreal glasses. I got to get it set up. But yeah, I'm very excited about that, and I think VeVe's got the right vision, or David, you and
Mm.
Dan have the right vision, and Dan's the guy who's driving VeVeVerse, and I think that the world will really know who Dan Crothers is. Um, you love David for all the vision of bringing these collectibles and all the stuff and the IP and stuff, but the people would love Dan once VeVeVerse is ready and operational. That's his thing, man. And
Wow.
he's going to deliver that. I've had the opportunity chatting with him a couple of times now in a lot of depth, and obviously he hasn't given anything away special to me. But his vision for it is amazing. And the demo that I saw in Decon, oh my God, that was spectacular, spectacular. You know,
Wow.
just can't wait for it, man.
Wow, and it's amazing that you've, been able to chat with him on multiple occasions because,
Yeah,
you're right. We give a lot of praise to David, you rightfully so, but Dan, we don't really
yeah,
talk about enough, and I feel like he's the operations
yeah,
guy. He's the guy that's,
yeah.
moving the everything forward. So what's he like as a person? Is he a super nice guy, really kind of gung ho on VV?
Yeah, absolutely he is. I mean, if you know Dan, Dan's like the life and blood of these parties, man. He's really the guy who he just has this ability of connecting with people socially,
Mm.
and if you think about that first sort of interaction with Dan, he's just full of energy. He's connecting with people. He's quite the party guy. He's very social, and then there's the other side of Dan, which is sort of the getting shit done, the delivery side of things, and you need a guy like Dan in that role because there's so many challenges, and Dan doesn't get phased by a lot of this stuff. So he's the right guy, and he's and when I connected with Dan, I was not the biggest fan of Dan. I'll tell you that. I mean, when I was in VeVe, did not know Dan, and they were missing deadlines left, right, and center. I was just like, what the hell? But in New York, I got a chance to chat with Dan. I actually sat next to him over dinner. Really
Wow.
spent a lot of time with him, and I realized, his point of view on VeVe and developing VeVe and being thoughtful about it and getting things done and not trying to rush things and navigating the challenges that they face. I mean, there are a lot of things that came VeVe's way, which was not anticipated. I'm very impressed, and then the VeVeVerse part of it, right? So there's the everyday running of VeVe and the functionality feature, all that stuff, and then there's VeVeVerse and that stuff. So, um, and I'm glad that he's got the help that he needs on the other side of the business, and not a lot of people in VeVe don't quite understand what's going on behind the scenes as well, right?
Right.
Not like this company had was seriously cash flow positive from day one. I mean, they had a lot of challenges, man. My understanding is, and I don't know the exact numbers or whatever, but the first year was a real challenge, man. Money was a challenge. A lot of things are challenging for these guys,
Right.
and they navigated that. And then now, they're in a better state, and they basically now have the ability to go do things. And so they've hired people. They've hired Mitch. They've brought in, new CTO. Don't know a guy, but and then they brought in more people. Then there's more structure. If you look at it, everything was a
Mhm.
3-month cycle. Now it's like a 2-week cycle, and there's more ability to move things around and switch gears, and that ability to stop work on something, start something new.
Right.
So all those things. So I think I guess what I was trying to make, the point I was trying to make there is Dan's got the help in the everyday running of the business. It probably needs more, and they'll get more. And he's focused on VeVeVerse, which is what I'm most excited about. And I think that's sort of the next, it's the next phase, of this whole thing. It's a
Right.
quantum leap for the company.
Wow. Wow, that's so cool to hear, man. And I think going just back to a few of your points, like the sustainability aspect is so key because, like you said, if they rush things too quickly, like if you get
Yeah.
MCP out too quickly, it's not perfected, it's not counting back retroactive points, it's not rolled out in a methodical, very thoughtful way where people are kind of testing it, then it comes out and it could crash the app too. So like,
Yeah.
you like as much as we want it, we're dire for it and oh, I've got all these, points that I want to be accruing at the same time they're smart enough to know I understand your frustration but we got to do this in a very smart calculated way. So I love that, man. And I also love the aspects of the VeVeVerse. Like right now there's this buzzword metaverse, right? You just hear everybody, oh, you going to the metaverse, and you're like, oh yeah, like, and you're like, wait a second, what is that, but I feel like the VeVeVerse is one of the few things that we've actually seen
Yeah.
that actually is credible as other companies throw it out sparingly. So here's one thing I was going to ask you a question on. It seems like things from other crypto projects, NFT projects, are interoperable potentially within the VeVeVerse, right? Like if you had another project, like a piece of art or something that you wanted from OpenSea, you could potentially take it into the VeVeVerse as well. If I'm understanding that correctly, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
So there's when you think about the VeVeVerse, and when you go from this two-dimensional world and this Twitter world where there's not much video, it's mostly just audio, and from OpenSea and these kind of spaces, when you go into a metaverse, look, what are you going to do in the metaverse? The first thing is you need a PFP, but you want
Mm,
something that is that's got fashion to it and can be an avatar and stuff. And I think that there's some OpenSea projects that have made that migration or that transition. They're not just static dog cat images. They've got personality, they've got traits, and those traits can be used in a more not so staticky manner. And so those
right.
kind of projects are good. They kind of bring things in. But if you think about that sort of first thing I brought up about the avatars, well, VeVe's got IP. You can have Spider-Man, you can have whatever you want, customize Spider-Man, customize Batman, all these things, right? So that's the first aspect of it. The second aspect of it is when you think about an OpenSea, there's a lot of art, real artists with real art, and then there's people who just built like these regenerative projects with whatever, right? With a pig and a owl and a something else. Nothing against them, by the way. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great for that first phase of things where people are enamored and they bought it and they're successful and whatever, right? And they've got promoters and stuff. But when you go into the VeVeVerse, or any metaverse, and you're in an immersive environment, what you need in your environment is art. Art is beautiful. Static art is beautiful, right?
Right.
And if you have real art from artists that you buy, like Frank Kozik or Ron English, or Jermaine, and Tara McPherson, Mumbat, Brian Morris, all these people, right? Their artwork, and they have artwork on VeVe. Some of them have on VeVe, some of them have on OpenSea. Bringing those things in, putting them on the walls, that's a real, that's already there. That's really nice, and that's some value to it. But not everything is going to look great on your walls, that's on OpenSea. In fact, I think 95% of the stuff that's on OpenSea, at least I don't want on my walls. Hopefully somebody does one on their walls.
Yeah.
Right? And then
I
the
agree.
third thing is motion and animation. Look, how many things on OpenSea are seriously animated in high quality with different types of animation and not just animation of one specific thing, but the interaction, multiple animations that interact with each other. To me, that is a VeVe thing, right? That's what VeVe is for, and that's what will be so special about VeVeVerse. And to me, that's where VeVe's vision is a little bit further ahead of all of these things. And then, to bring in music, I know there's music NFTs off VeVe, bringing those in, and VeVe's plans to get into that, having sports and stuff like that. Those, to me, that's the richness,
Right.
immersiveness of a metaverse is the richness of the experience. And the assets, you as an individual can be there, but you need the assets and the toys and the background and the music and all the media, the rich different forms of media to be available to you to make it fun and to bring more people in, And to me, I believe that, and there may be others that are out there. I've heard good things about Decentraland and all these other places, but I think VeVeVerse is going to absolutely nail it and rock it because they've got a combination of big IP, artists, range of different types of media, quality, and that's why I believe that that's going to be different. Connecting your wallets, great. Bringing in stuff, yeah, but I'm probably bringing a few things from outside. But VeVe's got the real goods, man, and that's where it matters.
Right.
That's what matters.
I love that. I love that. And I never really thought about the way that you framed it because the whole VeVeVerse is designed for their own assets in a sense. Sure, we can have that interoperability with others coming in, but like
Yeah,
you said, that high quality 3D animation, and who's going to be able to even take it to the next step? It's the licensors that already
yeah,
put those NFTs in the VeVeVerse. Like
yeah,
maybe there's going to be new features for that, and then accessories that you can
yeah,
personalize your Spider-Man or whatever, right? So there's
yeah,
it's gonna be cool, man. You know what I'm actually really looking forward to as well as customized showrooms, but not with the collectibles, with the actual landscape of the background, like
yeah,
a bat cave or like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
And you probably have your option with all the sets. So if they start saying like, "Oh, you've got season one, perfect. Here's your bat cave," So what, like, do you think that's gonna be a cool feature and we could visit each other, check out our vaults, even do a
I
friggin'
mean,
show in the
this is
metaverse?
my IRL Batcave, right? So if you look at this, I mean, it's just all the statues right now. I mean, I intend to, maybe get a Alex Ross kind of or
That's
some
crazy.
artist like a really cool artwork, and then the lighting and all that stuff someday. But it'll be a
Wow.
lot cheaper to do it in the VeVeVerse, and I absolutely intend to have a Batcave with the VeVeVerse, and I'll pay good money for the artwork and all that good stuff too. So. But
Mhm.
yeah, so that's going to be quite special, and we're going to visit each other and have a good time. I mean, we'll probably do this interview and stuff there. Let me. There's one other thing I wanted to. As long as you're on this VeVeVerse topic, there's one other thing I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if VeVe's doing it or not, but look, most people think comics may not fit in well into VeVeVerse. It's just going to be the cover or whatever it is. And I think that this might take a while to happen, but it's going to be, with AI, you have the ability to take a comic. If you pick play, right, it will show the images of each panel in the comic one by one and play it for you, and the sound, the text, it can get the characters to, because it can see it, right, to say those things, right. So to have a comic play out in a animated manner, or even a part of the comic to play out in an animated manner, is incredible. Can you imagine going into a VeVeVerse and you're sitting there, and you whip out your Marvel Comics one, and you basically say, play, play,
Insane.
so you don't have to read it. It's playing it for you. Those are the kind of things, man. I don't know if VeVe's building a functionality or not. I know that it's something that Marvel already has for some comics on the web space. So to me, those would be amazing, man. Like, that would be just incredible.
I love that idea, dude. And I mean, it's already pretty amazing, even the augmented reality aspect. Like, what other program can do that right now where you take out your comic? I remember seeing Sean from Comics and Crypto when he first got the Fantastic Four #1.
Yeah.
He was on his balcony and he opens up the comic with his cup of coffee and he's reading FF1. He's like, I could never do this in the
Exactly.
physical world. And I
Yeah.
can now do this in the digital,
Yeah.
So it's so cool. And I've always hoped that
Mhm.
the secret rare covers would become animated because of the white background. I just felt like it would be easier to move
Yeah.
those, because the other ones obviously have a lot of other things in there. But yeah, I think the future of it is insane. And that's what I keep saying about the difference between these physical products that we have, and collectibles rather, is as course they're unbelievable, but they're stagnant. Like, they can't really do anything else, as there's a future and for these digital assets that we don't even know yet. In 15
Yeah.
years, they could be adding other utility, other features to it that we're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's really cool, right? So, I mean, I think the opportunities are massive on VeVe. I can't believe that they've got all this IP over so many other companies. And
Yeah.
I keep saying this, MC1, I was like, man, what if they came out, or even a company came out with a global verification network on what hit the blockchain first and listed all the characters and companies
Yeah.
beside it? VeVe
Like
would
the
own like
Guinness Book,
70.
right? The
Yeah.
Guinness Book of World Records kind of thing. Guinness Book of First Appearances or whatever. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea, man. You should do it.
I know, right? Don't take my idea, anybody. Watch this.
NFT Pirates version.
I know. I'd have to change my name to sound a little more professional. That'd be like NFT
Yeah, you
Pirates. I don't
might
know
need
if
a
we like
different
these
name
guys.
for that one.
Yeah, exactly. We'll call it Larrabee Limited or something. It's some cool name. Yeah. But yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited. So what are your friends like in this as well? I know that you're probably connected to all some pretty powerful groups, and if you don't mind sharing, like what are their sentiments? I know you said they're kind of preparing for more of a rainy day potentially, just not to go crazy. But are they just kind of dollar cost averaging, collecting when they can, matching sets when they can? What does that look
Yeah.
like?
Well, I'm in a couple of different groups, and
Yeah.
before you even talk about the groups, right? If you just look, it's the blockchain. So one of the community members puts out a spreadsheet with the top 500 wallets in VeVe, and it says, what's the ranking, and how many do they have, and how many did they buy in that week or sell in that week net, right?
Right.
And if you look at that, and you look at the top 50 wallets, maybe there's one or two people who've kind of sold a little bit, but by and large, a lot of them are adding. A lot of them are adding heavily. And the top wallets add somewhere between 200 and 1,000 in a week. And the guys who are, just hanging around are adding somewhere between 20 and 50 NFTs a week. And so if you look at that, that just gives you if you look at the people who are already here and engaged, right? There's two ways the company can grow. One is the people who are already here spend more and buy more, and the other one is net new people come in. And so the net new people coming in obviously has slowed down because of the market, and I don't know all the stats on that. But the people who are here, who are engaged, are very heavily engaged and are buying more. And so that's reflected in, we'll switch to your question now, which is, the different groups. So I'm in one, I have a group of my own. So over the last year and a half, I've made a lot of friends. And so I have this is not tied to any comic, not any collectible. I started this group. It's in Twitter, and I selectively handpick, friends to come and join. And I have a few friends in it. Rolex is in it. Tony Whitman's in that group. And the whole thought process is these are thoughtful people who care about the community, who are collectors at heart. They may sell a piece here and there. They're not really just in it for the money and the flipping and the whatever. They're genuinely passionate people, and they're very nice people. And so, and I'm slowly adding to that group as well. So that group, I will tell you, the sentiment is very bullish. And you can see just by a couple of the individuals I've talked about, they're collecting extensively on VeVe, they're collecting extensively off VeVe, tied to VeVe, the phygital side of it. And there are people here for the long haul. They're here to, they'll be here a year from now, they'll be here 5 years from now. These are people who generally care. And so to me, they're all anxious in some ways about feature functionality. They've heard a lot of, talk from VeVe on a different set of things. And they've seen VeVe walk that talk just a little bit so far, with Mitch and with a few other things. VeVeVerse was walking the talk. They didn't kind of, say a whole bunch. They just showed up with the goods, with some of the wallet stuff. They're showing up with the goods, with search, it's happening. But, they want to see so what are the big things? MCP's got to come, OUP's got to come, and they're going to be implemented in phases, but you want to see all of them, fully implemented. We've heard about those two big things. And then, MCP, OUP, and then the crypto in, out. And then if you think about VeVeVerse, right? So all these things are sort of, I believe, 2023 and early 2024 kind of things. We'll see it, and we'll see it. And they're optimistic at the same time about it. But that's sort of the sentiment there. Then I'm in a whole bunch of other groups, man. So I'm in, the Amazing Fantasy 15 SR group, the MC1 SR group.
Big groups.
Yeah, and then, it's just the flavor of the day. Somebody's upset about something. Somebody's upset about somebody flipping something and somebody lowering the price and whatever. Those are just fun, man. I'm in them, Profits in those, David Hughes in those, but they don't really engage a whole lot. They're probably just laughing at everybody else. It's cool. But yeah, that's kind of a little bit about that, the Telegram groups, the Twitter groups and stuff, but the VeVe Gold logo group as well. That's more of the physical collector group, the people who show up at the events and stuff. And that group's also stabilizing and steady. The people, a lot of these collectibles, Jad, I'll tell you, they're people, when it starts, it goes to anybody, right? It's random. Right. And then slowly the flippers flip out of it and the collectors get into it. And then through the cycles, down cycle, the flippers kind of all get out of it. Some of them come back in on some things, but the percentage of collectors keeps rising. And the more that goes up, the more value that gets created inherently. And I think we're in that process where that's still developing. And so a lot of these groups are still mixed groups, which are a combination. Whenever you have a group that's about anyone holding something, it's a combination of flippers and collectors. But my sense is a lot of these groups are going to become pure hardcore hodlers that, like Todd's, even Todd, right? There'll be a time when it's just going to sit in the hands of people who don't want to get rid of it, or the people who want it to keep it are the guys who are going to get their hands on it, and then it's just going to slowly, the supply goes down.
Right.
But yeah, that's the sentiment of the group right now. My belief is that the people who are, it's been a bear market long enough to shake out the people who don't have faith. A lot of them, right? The FUD is dying down, not because the FUD has died down, is because the guys have left, right? So moved on to other things.
Right.
And that's a good thing. My belief is, people say, the community says, hey, it'd be great if we have 5 million users. No, man. If you have, 100,000 people like Profit or me or Rolex. Or,
True.
we good, man. We good. We're plenty good.
Yeah, you're totally right.
I don't think this should be about. This should be about getting 5 million users. We need to be cloning
Yeah.
Dr. Profit, man.
I agree with you, man. And it's like the degree of engagement within those users is so critical, right?
Yeah.
And man, it's funny that you say that because I even have my own group. I don't have as many groups as you, but I run that Secret Rare Miles Morales group.
Yeah.
And like you said, a lot of the people that were early on kind of flipped out, and now people are kind of here, and that's why you're seeing that floor kind of stabilize. But I also keep thinking, like, man, imagine what the VeVeVerse is going to do too for us, and wanting to actually hold these assets, because now you're going to be, it's not just in your wallet, like you'll be walking around, or at least have it in your showroom. All these people can come visit, and you're going to be like, damn, good thing I have that asset, because now it's going to help my social capital. It's going to, you know what I mean? Like, imagine you with your 500 plus MC1s in the background. Be like, I know who that is. Like, so that's really cool, man. And
Look, I'm not gonna lie here. My Spider-Man's still Peter Parker, but I'm buying a lot of the Miles Morales stuff.
Yes.
And I don't have, by the way, that's the one collectible I don't have. I don't have the SR Miles Morales collectible. And it's something that I want. It's something that I keep looking at it thinking, it's a bear market, it's a bear market. What happened to the bear? Is the bear getting smaller? But anyway, look, I don't have it. I'm going to get it at some point. But look, that's an investment for me. I've got the Ultimate Fallout 4 CGC 9.8. I bought any original artwork from the more up and coming artists that's related to Miles Morales. I get that. I picked up a Peach Momoko cover for Miles. I picked up a Rian Gonzalez original artwork that has Miles Morales on it. And to me, that is sort of the character, a new character, if you will, or reformed character that's going to play a big role. And me personally, everybody might have a different point of view, but me personally, I'm investing heavily in that. That's an investment. It's not, they're not my Spider-Man, but I'm investing in it.
Amazing. That makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And it's going to be interesting to see too, how some of these characters develop over time. One, conversation I had recently with the group was, a lot of these, Spider-Mans, Supermans, etc., the Batmans, the big, the holy trinity, so to speak. They're huge, but they also are, mostly appealing to older generations. Obviously, we have the Dark Knight and things like that too. But we're also thinking, what's the new future NFTs that maybe not now, because a lot of the young kids don't have money, but when 10 years from now, what are they going to want, right? And so that's the kind of the fun part of it, is like when you can speculate on a new character coming. And I don't know if you saw, but like that guy that bought the Tom Brady card in 2008 for like $4,500, sold it for like 3.2 million or something recently. Crazy, right? And that's what I think about some of these characters. Maybe not to that extent, but I'm like, okay, what are the potential of them long term? And imagine if we had Peter Parker, but only 250 editions. Like, what would that be?
Yeah, a couple of things there, right? So I tell you, when you look at all the different collectibles, there's the whales go and pick up like these highly rare kind of things, and that's a market. They'll make money on it. But if you kind of leave the whales aside and you just look at VeVe, the future of collectibles, I think, is the animation. And if you look at how VeVe used to operate, a lot of the collectibles, it was always the secret rare, the lowest edition size that was animated, and those are expensive. If you look at where we're headed with the metaverse, with VeVeVerse, and the animated collectibles, think about it. You're gonna bring in three things in there, right? One of them is animated. Which one do you think is the one that's going to appeal to you a lot more? The one that does the tricks when your friends come, or the one that's standing there and just looking at you, right?
Yeah, I
Oh, you
got
have to
you.
shake it. Shake it.
Yeah. Oh, look, he's moving.
Well, Batman says this. Oh,
Yeah.
Right? Since the animation matters. But VeVe has now started animating in when these sets come out, the common is animated, or the rare is animated, the ultra rare is animated. And to me, that's an opportunity now for people, and not financial advice, man. It's the opportunity to pick up the animated stuff at the lowest prices and hold on to them. I was talking to one of the biggest whales. I won't name the person, one of the biggest whales in VeVe. and we had a very good chat. And it was in person. We connected. We spent a couple hours chatting about stuff, and we had a very specific kind of conversation about animated collectibles. And the individual shared with me that, look, these animation matters, and he's picking up a ton.
Wow. That's such a good point, man. Because a lot of, and I feel like you said, VeVe is almost doing everybody a favor right now, being like, "Hey, look, the common's animated," and everyone's just like, "Oh, whatever." But when you think about the
Yeah,
implications of that, like Mickey Mouse animated, like that's a big deal, you know? So
when
yeah.
it's in your wallet and you're just trying to flip it, nobody cares for money.
Mm.
But when you're in a metaverse, VeVeVerse, and your friends are gonna be around. What do you want?
Right. Man, it's crazy that you say that because I'm just, just bringing back memories way back in 2021 when,
Yeah,
Starfire was there. My brother and I
yeah,
bought it. And we're like, look, it's the first animation in the hair. And it was like kind
yeah,
of slightly moving, right? And so I think, like you said, when we're in the VeVeVerse and all that stuff is apparent to you and it's in your face, you're going to then realize the significance. But right now, because it's just
mhm,
locked away, you're not seeing what the potential is. So I think that's such a good point.
yeah,
Yeah, man. Yeah, and even recently, I had other people coming on and being like, I'm collecting the first of the Disney Queen. I think it was Minta Locke said that to me because it was like
yeah,
the first evil character for Disney that was released on the blockchain. Or other people are saying, oh, I'm collecting the first appearance of the Hulk, not necessarily Hulk #1, but the first time Hulk's on the blockchain. So people are making really speculative plays that could kind of turn out, and that's what I loved about what you said earlier is that there's not one way to skin a cat here. Like there's
yeah,
multiple different winners that could happen from this. And because it's
yeah.
going to appeal to the mass market, you're going to have those niche things that people are going to enjoy in each area, right?
Yeah, there's going to be the stuff you need for your walls, which
Yeah.
is art, and different people have different tastes. So pick out which if you sit yourself down, leave. Everybody's so focused on the most recent drop. If you just sit down and you kind of say, okay, look, blank piece of paper, and you say, look, I'm going to design my VeVeVerse. Anything's possible. Anything's possible. Okay, just say you're going to do it. And you sit down and you say, look, when I go in, what do I need? I need an avatar. What would my avatar be? What would I like it to be? And the
Mhm.
chances are what you want your avatar to be is going to be something that a lot of other people want. I mean, there may be exceptions to this, but you know,
Lumpy Space Princess. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah, David, you likes Chucky. I'm not sure how many people want their avatar to be Chucky with a knife, but then that's David, right? But by and large, so that's the first thing. Then you say, okay, what kind of attire do I want? Vivi doesn't have the attire and all that stuff right now, but they'll have that anyway. Leave that for a minute. Then it's like, what do you want on the walls? Right?
Mm,
You probably have multiple rooms, so you'd want one to be more aligned with comics and covers, and which ones are the coolest ones. You'd want one which is just artists and art, and you'd want one which is collectibles and posters or something like that. Maybe it's a screening room. You will have the ability to screen, right?
right.
See video, but in your theater room, you'd want posters. What are the coolest posters on the app? First of all, what are all the posters on the app? Which one's the coolest visually to look at? And you know, pick out the
Mm,
one that you like. Well, that's great. Then you say, look, you're going to drive in the VeVeVerse, right? Maybe not in 2023, but yeah. So what kind of ride do you want? You want
right.
the coolest ride. I mean, I don't know, man. Uh, you might be the kind of guy who likes to drive the Aston Martin, or you might want the Lambos, you might want something else. But there's got to be the one ride that what's your number one ride, what's your number two ride, and what's your number three ride? That's already there,
Right.
and you pick from it, right? Whether it's the kit or whether it's the DeLorean or whatever else, or it's a more classic car, or you want one vintage car and one modern car, right? You
I
got
got
that,
you.
right?
Yeah.
So you
Wow.
think through that, right? And then the animation. What do you want? What do you want interactive wise? With these things. What do you want
Mm,
outside your VeVeVerse house or whatever? If you think along those lines, if you want to be around in VeVe, and you want to be in VeVeVerse, you might as well take the time to be thoughtful about which of these things that you have today that you want in there, and there'll be new stuff. And then you'll have a jukebox or whatever, right? And you want music. I know music is yet, but when it comes, you start thinking about which what kind of vibe do I want? What kind of environment do I want? If you're like an emoji or whatever, and Darian or somebody, or if you've got one of these other Rev Alex for that matter, any of these music spaces, what do you want, right? You
Right.
want music stuff out there, anything that's got the musical kind of element to it. Hey, let me pause there, man. I think there's if you're thoughtful about it, you can identify, I believe, the things that could be valuable as we look at the future of NFTs in and VeVe NFTs.
So interesting. I love all those points that you made, because like when you start, like, it's almost important to map it out now so you can be a little more strategic in terms of what you're going to want in there. And there's just like so many things that come back to me. Like I always think about like the Dragon Girls, right? Especially like the, gold and silver, even the pure gold one. And I'm like, how beautiful would that be as an art piece in, your showroom or your house or whatever. And then I think about like the scarcity aspect. So here's one thing I wanted to pick your brain on, because with scarcity, you're going to have very few people that will have those types of items in the VeVeVerse. As
Yeah,
some of the things that are very popular, they're going to be
yeah,
mass scaled.
yeah,
So that could be another play, right? Like, what if scarcity kind of comes back in a way where people are like, oh, despite this maybe not being as popular, I just like it because not many people have it.
yeah. I mean, there's going to be castles, I think, in the VeVeVerse, right? there's going to
Yeah,
be, there's going to be mansions.
I won't be in there. Yeah, I'll have a nice condo somewhere. Yeah, yeah,
There's going to be museums. There's going to be all this shit. Right? There's going to be
yeah.
warehouses. I asked David Yu, hey, most people have like a house or a museum, or whatever. You have a warehouse, and like it's a style of kind of building.
That's actually true. Go to David Yu's got like 14 digital warehouses with digital products in it. Yeah.
A
That's
profit
actually
man.
yeah, I'll
This
be like
whole aisle.
yeah. It'll be half the
There's
VeVeVerse will
like
be
marble
storage.
statues. This is mint number whatever, but the rest of them is more.
That's right. I didn't even think about that. That's actually so true, right? Yeah, and I guess people will probably be able to see what they want to display in there. So if they wanted to show off, they could put the entire collection. But if they wanted to be classy, they could be like, I'm just going to showcase a few items here,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's actually really cool. And one thing I keep thinking about too, man, is LiDAR technology. And I read more about it all the time. And
Leather,
I'm
yeah.
really excited about, the intersection between that and augmented reality, and for you to display all your VeVe collectibles in your house like you have in the background. And if I
Yeah.
come over to your house with my glasses on, you're like, hey, Chad, go to setting 2. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing this crazy digital plus physical collection in my periphery. That's going
Yeah.
to be freaking cool, man.
So I think Nreal has the ability to do that. I bought the Nreal
Wow.
Air glasses. I have to set it up, man. It's on my list of things to get done this week. And but yeah, so that'd be pretty cool, man. I think that technology where you have, and obviously it's not connected to VeVe and stuff, but it probably has other stuff in AR. But yeah, that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, and even with Oculus, man, like I was, doing just like a few different things with it just recently just to test it out, and I was like, this looks pretty real. Like there's some of the programs, there's like this moon walking program where you're looking back at Earth, and I was like, man, like that's probably the closest I've ever got to space. Like it felt like I was there. I was like walking on the,
Yeah,
the arm, the Canadian arm of the space shuttle, and like, it's just like it's pretty amazing, to see where we're going, and it's still so young. So it's like I can't even imagine what 10 years plus means, not only for the significance, but the utility and the integration of these assets into our daily lives.
education too, right? So if you want to,
Mm,
if you're studying the Civil War, you can actually be in a metaverse where there's characters who are enacting the Civil War, right? You don't cost
damn.
a character, man. It's just all digital, right? If you want to learn about Rosa Parks and her experience at the back of the bus, you can experience that, man. If you want to
Wow.
experience the man landing on the moon, you can experience that. If you want to experience interplanetary travel, whatever it is, and it's all cheap, man. Like you can relatively inexpensive. My sense is going to be it's going to be as much information and educational as it is entertainment and recreation.
So cool. So here's a question for you. This is a bit of a tangent, but I'm like, if we're getting so advanced in creating these like virtual experiences that like simulate reality so well that it's almost like you can't even notice the difference, what would ever be the point other than if we're just running out of resources to like risk your life and travel to Mars, or like risk your life and you know what I mean? Like I feel like when we think about that stuff, you're more
Yeah,
likely just to have like mechanical bodies that are sent rather than, I don't know. I have this book called Homo Deus. I don't know if you ever heard about it,
no, I read it,
but
man.
it
I'll
talks about
look it
like
up.
the future, yeah, future of humans and where we would be. And they say that, you know, if people did have the opportunity to live for a lot longer, they would be really risk adverse. They wouldn't want to go snowboarding because they could break their arm or potentially die. They would, you know, kind of like be. So it's interesting, right? Because I'm just thinking like it's getting to the point where I'm like, I just don't know where it's going to go. I mean, if they can create these real life experiences, like instead of going on vacation, maybe I want to spend a week in the VeVeVerse and just be like, all right, I'm taking a staycation. I'm going to be hanging out with my Batman, you know, talking to all these cool people. I don't know.
I'm not sure if it'll change the demand for doing those things because, you know, they're explorers and adventurers and scientists and stuff would probably still go just do as much or more. But I think what it does is this technology makes it a lot more accessible to the masses who can experience that, right? Like you want to experience some kind of a simulated experience of star walking or whatever it is, you know, flying intergalactically onto a specific star on a planet and see what it's like, and then go to the next one and you're with your friends out there and you're experiencing the surface of that whatever thing is, and you're sitting chatting and shit, you know, seeing them.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it just makes it a lot more accessible to the masses, which would be very cool.
Yeah, man. Well, there's a lot ahead, right? And I think, you know, I'm glad that you're still very bullish. I'm glad that there's so many, you know,
Yeah.
whales in the app that still care so much about it. And you
Yeah.
know, I guess another big question for you is the crypto pay-in. You know, a lot of people talk about that, how they could see some crazy numbers. Um, do you think that would really kind of help influence some of the price points, or do you think that's just not a big deal? And, you know, if people really wanted to get money in, they could.
I don't know, man. You know, so
Yeah.
there's two schools of thought there, right? So there's people who want to stay anonymous and play with crypto, right? That's one value to crypto has been that you could stay anonymous and you can buy things and you can do whatever it is, and that whole in a decentralized kind of a manner. The second one is where you get known, right? So, you know, I suppose when you talk about VeVe, well, you can have crypto pay in, but you still have to KYC all the way around. So,
Yeah.
so, so if you break the crypto people out into two segments, people who want to stay anonymous and use their money, crypto money, and people who don't want to, who are okay with not, you know, like they just got the money and they're happy to be known or whatever it is. So this is for the second type, right? And I don't know how big the first type versus the second type is and what it drives and stuff. But you logically you'd say if there's one more mechanism, one more sort of currency or type of currency that's accepted, you'd believe that it opens up the pool of people and assets that can come into the app. So I just don't know how big it is. I think
Yeah.
it's important, and I think crypto is going to become more and more. Um, it's sort of like you know, it's almost like a meter. Like you see, the meter is at near 4 or 5, you know, whatever is the percentage of people that are really in crypto now, and you're like, what is this meter going to say 5 years from now? Is it going to
Mm,
go to 2? Is it going to go to 20?
right.
And it might be 30, it might be 50, but I think pretty much everybody would agree that this crypto is going to go more, there's going to be more crypto usage, right?
Right.
And as time goes on, and I think these big banks in America, you know, they're slow, man. I read an article today saying that the top 5 banks, Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, all these guys, through one of the joint kind of companies that they are, you know, have a stake in, they're going to start doing wallets to compete with PayPal and Apple Pay for digital stuff. I'm like,
It's like, all right,
what
guys.
were we doing for the last 20 years, man?
Yeah.
What were you thinking? There's going to be less digital? We're not going to use,
I
you know,
know.
like digital transactions, wallet transactions? Like, what the F are you thinking? Like, a wallet is a real thing.
That's actually
Anyway,
awesome.
and you know, the funny thing is, while they're thinking about doing it now and they're starting work on it now, there's crypto wallets, man. Like, what do you think is going to come next when you have a wallet? There's going to be there's going to be government money, and there's going to be like non-government money, and or blockchain-based money, and there's going to be government blockchain-based money, right? Like, when are they going to think about that? Like after 20 years more? It's terrible,
That's at
man.
2040. We're gonna be like, oh, look at us. We're thinking about doing crypto
Bank of
wallets.
America, Jesus, I'll start doing
I hear you,
crypto
man.
wallet.
And that's probably what half of this is like everything else is so far behind. And,
Yeah,
kudos to Sleeping Comics, your hat there too.
yeah,
He said to me, he started a business to make websites way back. I forget what it was, but it was like at a certain point and it was like really revolutionary. He's like, hey, we can make a website for you. And he was going around, and everyone's like, oh, we don't want that. What the heck even is that? And he's like, hey,
yeah.
we can do email. And then they're like, oh, we want to do email. you know? And so I feel like that's kind of where we're at is like we're just thinking it's almost like way too far ahead for the general populace when we
Yeah.
need so many more people to kind of catch up, right? It's like that's kind of the issue in my opinion too.
Well, like Amazon's been around for a while. Amazon started in '97. Not many people got onto Amazon until much later.
Right.
Tesla was around. It's been around for a long time, but not a lot of people got into Tesla for a while. Solar has been around for a long time, but not a lot of people have gotten into solar. There's things
Mm,
like that. There's Silicon Valley is known for technology, and there's an equivalent of it in China. There's an equivalent for it in India. There's an equivalent for it in Europe, and there's an equivalent for it on the East Coast too. Whatever the Golden Triangle, or Magic Triangle, or whatever. And my sense is that these hubs are where new technologies are curated. They come out. People sort of sit on the fence. There's early adopters, and believe it or not, most of the guys who are degens, who we call degens, are the early adopters, man.
yeah.
They're willing to
Yeah.
risk it. They're willing to go for it.
yeah. And let's be honest, highest risk has the highest reward, right? And I think that's when we see some of these guys that bought CryptoPunks and Bored Apes for 10
Yeah,
ETH,
everybody's
people are
laughing
going,
at
you're
these guys, right? You bought a
yeah,
JPEG, ha ha ha. Oh
you're an
shit!
idiot. I sold it for 1.3 million. It's like, oh, wait a second,
I
yeah,
can't.
man, it's crazy. We like even my friends and I were thinking of like just kind of coming up. I said this in another interview, but we had a group near us at a town nearby. They bought a Bored
Yeah,
Ape collectively and they're a bunch of barbers, and now they're calling it board barbers.
yeah.
And I was just like, man, like some of the stuff that we're laughing at them now, like, haha, like you guys spent all this money. I'm like, I don't know what that means for their future business and what they're gonna get back. So it's cool.
So I met I'll tell you two stories. So I met
Yeah.
I can't tell you the name. This is
Okay.
the biggest collector on the planet that you know, right? So
Okay.
I met him, and so he says, "Hey, how much is a board ape now?" So this is when we went for decon, and he said, so I said, it's about 50 some. It's fallen a lot. It's about 50 something, and the price of ETH is about 1,200. So it's like about 70 something or whatever. So the guy says, man, probably a good time. I'm going to pick up 10 or 10, 15 of these. So he probably did because now,
Holy shit.
now this is like, we're talking about November, right? November last year,
Yeah.
3 months ago. So now the price of a board ape is like 72, floor price is 72 ETH, and
Right.
ETH is like 1,600. So this person's made like
Probably what, $500,000? Like easy,
more than
right?
that.
Right there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
ridiculous.
it's not, you just don't, it's not about just being early. It's
Yeah.
also about being smart, man. You see opportunity. So Marvel ones,
Yeah.
man. So the comic had just come out on August, I think it was 19th or something like that, and 18th or 19th, and on VeVe, and people said those 60,000 editions.
Mm.
They were just selling it for $2 and $3 and $4, and it was just like a throwaway factor for people. Like, what the hell is this shit? Like who's gonna buy it? 60,000 people. And there are people like me who are saying, "What the hell? I'm gonna buy it." And
I'm gonna
does
buy
any regret
500.
I have? It's like I didn't buy the whole damn store, man. Like, the whole thing. Like anyway, but I ended up buying a whole bunch. I mean, I ended up buying like close to 500, whatever. But the same philosophy, right? And when you think about anything, even now, there are comics that come out that are 10,000 editions or 7,500 editions with only like 160 secret rares or 200 secret rares. And some of these secret rares are like $50. People are like, oh, who's going to buy these? This is so expensive. Like, click, put it in, man, put it in the bag.
See, this is what people need to hear, right? Because they're going, oh, like look at this, and like you said, and then somebody like yourself is like, perfect, thanks so much. I'm gonna like stack 6, 7 of these guys and wait for the
Yeah,
next 5 years. So that's
yeah,
it. And some of these additions now, man, are crazy. Like even Journey into Mystery, right? Like I mean, I
yeah,
think that 250 editions for
yeah,
the secret rare, and it's like $800, you know, and the comic's $100,000 plus in real life for high grade. It's like, okay, guys, like this is a pretty good comparison. You can see the, you know, obviously not financial advice, but you can see the in
Yeah,
real life value, and you could make a prediction
yeah,
that this is still going to hold a lot of importance, you know?
yeah.
And what do you think about, you know, some people say, oh, well, it's a facsimile, you know, similar to like what they have as kind of in real life. They do a second, it just happens to be blockchain. But I keep saying, no, it's a whole different thing. It's a piece of the IP. It's unique. It's the first time on the blockchain. It's going to have lifetime permanence. You know, you don't have to be worried about
Yeah.
physical degradation. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't see digital NFTs as facsimiles of the original or whatever.
Yeah.
To me, it's a different medium. It's numbered. It's got different kind of value and appeal, and it's, you know, a medium opens up a whole different kind of conversation on it. So to me, they're yeah.
Same. That's how
I
I
don't
see
know
it
why
too.
that. Interestingly, you know, even facsimiles in the real world have value. Believe it or not, even the facsimiles have value. But you know,
Right.
I think when you think about a digital medium, look, to me, I think, you know, the moment you make something digital, it opens up the ability to do a lot of things with it if you like to. So you can preserve it in one format, like I just told you, right? You can
Yeah.
animate the cover, you can animate the whole thing, you can make it into a video short, you can have voice, you can have so many things with it, right? And to me, that ability is infinite. That
Mhm.
opportunity is infinite. And as time goes on, you know, you have that ability, or people will create that ability to do more and more things with these things digitally. All the
Right.
collectibles we have, first, you know, if it's a statue, it's a statue. That's great. But otherwise, you can animate anything and you can do whatever you want. So, you know, what's that tag, animate? You know, in my humble opinion, there could be a day when VeVe basically, you know, when you reach a certain tier of status, it unlocks more animation for your animated thing, right? So if you are
Right.
tier this, the same damn thing can do 5 things or 10 things, and if you have this, you can do more. And you can maybe buy some animations. I don't know. This is all kind of speculative, but it just there's so much, you know, in a digital medium. There's so much more that's feasible
Yeah.
that I'm excited about it, and I'd love to have it, you know, irrespective of what anybody says.
No, I love that. I love that. And you know, I'm just thinking about even some of these collectibles that you're talking about, right? Like when we go back to that our augmented reality example, right? Like if you come over to my house, you know, I might want to actually put away my physical goods because with all my digital ones, I can change the size, I could change the rotation, I could show you the animation.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like it's going to be way cooler to see that stuff.
Yeah.
And then we could talk about the metadata that I could probably pull up instantly. Be like,
Yeah.
see, look, FA here, blockchain
Portability
20
too, right?
more ability, man. Yeah.
Let me show you
So
something here, right?
yeah,
So I'm gonna show you this.
I love this.
So I've got about whatever 15, 20 some graded comics here, right?
Wow.
So this is just 20, man. If I want them in the real world, so I have 2,800 some, you know, comics now in digitally, right? If I had to do that in the physical world, man, my room would be full, man, full. Like digitally, you can
Yeah.
collect as much as you want, and you can transport it, and it comes and carries with you. You can read it, you can do whatever you want with it. There's no spilling any coffee on it. You can, like, there's so much more that
Right.
you can do with it. Which, but you know, I mean, I've started collecting physical comics too, but I'm doing that very selectively. Ultimate Fallout 4, New Mutants 98,
So sick.
Marvel Rising 1, which is, you know, Peach Momoko's first
Look,
work, Ghost Spider, 2, you know, those kind of things. So I'm starting to collect, you know, some stuff. So, yeah.
so cool. And like you said, you can have different landscapes. Like instead of having like, you know,
Yeah.
4,000 plus things, you'd be like, oh, here's my Thor hangout showroom. Boom, click at the button. Okay, everything gets wiped. The new one comes in. This is my bat cave. Like, you know,
Yeah.
57 different features. Like it's so cool,
Yeah.
man. So
Auto rotate them too, right?
oh, now we're talking. Yeah, exactly. Just like a
So here's the other
screensaver.
problem. All right. So here's another problem. Let me tell you another one, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
So we have a maid service that comes and cleans every couple of weeks. Man, they're not allowed to touch this. Don't come into my room. Don't touch it. So
Yeah.
who dusts it, man? Like it collects dust. What do you do?
Wow.
Right? You gotta, if you display shit, you gotta clean it, man. And so cleaning one of them, you're so kind of, it's delicate, man. Like all these Batman black and white statues are delicate, man. So you got to be super careful. And so the whole cleaning of it is like quite an exercise. You can't just bloody blow dry it too because then they break, right? Fall.
Man.
So digitally, you don't got to do any of that stuff, man. Digitally is cool. You can enlarge the size. You can do what you want. It stays clean. You can display it which way you want. You can rotate
Right.
it. It's easy, right?
I love that, man. Security too. You don't have to be worried about somebody stealing one of the things that are worth, $10,000. You're just like, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other
So
thing, right?
so here's a question I have for you because I keep getting into it with Sean with comics and crypto. Like
Yeah,
he's like everything's going up, right? Digital's going up, physical's going up. They're both great. And
yeah,
I don't know. I have this feeling that like physical is just gonna reach a plateau where it's just not gonna have the social capital and
mhm,
the kickback that you would get with like like that I guess a physical good wouldn't do as much that for you, right? So it's like eventually it's gonna be like, okay, if I have 10 grand, I'm much better buying, an X asset from VeVe rather than a physical one because I know
yeah.
I'm gonna get social capital back. I'm going to be able to do so many more things with it. I could even put it into my physical reality. It's lifetime permanence. I could pass it on to my kid. I
Selling
can
is easy
instantly
too.
sell it.
Selling
Right?
is easy too, right? You just have to
That's what I'm
list it,
saying.
right? So there's a lot of value from that standpoint. I mean, at the end of the day, there's still going to be physical collectors. There's still going to be
Yeah.
digital collectors, and there's going to be both. There's space for both, but I think digital just adds a layer of convenience, which over time
Right.
is going to grow,
Yeah. Well,
and the
listen,
market
man.
for it is going to grow as well.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, I think we could talk all day. I think we've been talking for about an hour seven. I know you're a busy guy, so I don't want to keep you around too long, but it's been a friggin' blast having you on, dude. I
Yeah,
would love to, and I think we really got a good sense of the VeVeVerse on this one. And
yeah.
if you don't know Mr. MC1, all his social stuff is in the description below. Make sure to check him out, especially on Twitter. See if you can join one of his fancy groups. I might apply to a few today. And yeah, you're a really smart guy, man. And it's honestly an honor to have you come on to the show.
It's a pleasure to join this chat with you today and join. VeVe has one of the best communities that's out there. Just tremendous. If you look at people, in our community, whether it's Rolex, Profit, Silicon Secure, VeVe Magic, Comics and Crypto, Sean, all of these folks, Metaverse Life. There's just and then Emoji and
Yeah.
Kenobi and all these guys, right? Or Millie and these people, Min J East. I mean, there's just a range of different people. There's so much diversity in our community, and we just are truly blessed. I mean, I consider myself very fortunate to be part of this community and connect with each one different and be in these diverse spaces on diverse topics. Yet, be it something that's so cutting edge and cool. So VeVe is a great company, great vision. I see it going a lot of places, but I think we also have a very cool community, and that makes it so much more fun. And thank you for what you do. For a lot of content creators that build stuff. I'm very grateful to you guys. I'm always happy to come on to any one of your channels, chat, shoot the breeze about anything specific or generally as well. But thank you so much for everything you do, Chad, and I really enjoyed chatting with you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. We'll have to do it again soon, okay?
Sounds great.